One thing I know for sure, once time is over, you can never buy it back. In my business today, I work with senior executives, business owners, doctors, lawyers. These are all people who appreciate the value of time. I also interview regularly with Bloomberg, South China Morning Post, 联合早报, just to name a few. But it wasn't always this way. In the past, nobody wants to talk to me. Growing up, I was really an average student. From primary school right up to my university days, which I only entered in at 23 years old, I was considered a late bloomer. I didn't know what was at stake, and therefore I made a lot of wrong decisions along the way. I tried to catch up, but I realized I couldn't. My parents actually offered me the opportunity to go to Australia or US for my uni studies. Instead, I chose to stay back in Singapore to start work first and study part-time. This was hoping that I can catch up on time, but I realized I lost more. After 8 years of hard work, I finally caught up. I was working in the UK company then, I was covering the region, and I got to travel almost every week. I felt that everything was coming along nicely until at the start of 2010, I developed this sudden shoulder ache. It was very severe and it was very painful, and I decided to get it checked at the hospital. What was supposed to be a 1-hour appointment turned out to be a 4-day stay at the hospital. At the end of it all, the doctor had to come to me and say, "Clarence, we are very sorry, but you have leukemia." This is not a news that anyone would expect, definitely not at the age of 32, and it turned my whole world upside down. And I was discussing my treatment plans with my doctor. I told him that I was quite sure that I'll be well at the end. But yet his reply to me is, "If you're expecting a miracle, there is none for you." And during my hospital stay, I saw 2 of my fellow patients pass away in the middle of the night. I still remember that scene very vividly until now. Nurses came rushing in, heart rate monitor went flat, and that was the end of time for both of them. At that moment, it hit me and I realized that all of us are given time, but time is not that long. In August, I went back for my review and I was given the all clear, something that I've always expected right from the start. Interestingly, that day I took a taxi back to office after my medical appointment, and from the moment I went onto the taxi, a song came on. It's a soundtrack from the Prince of Egypt, and the name of that song is "There Will Be Miracles When We Believe." After this episode with leukemia, I realized that I was given a second shot in life. I was literally given more time, and therefore I find that it's very important that we should always do things right the first time round. These are my core beliefs now that I bring into my business today, because we may not always get a second chance, but if we do things right the first time, we don't actually need a second chance. These are things that I strongly believe in, and these are my guiding principles now when I do my business. Today, I help my clients buy properties, but not only that, I help them buy back time. One of the best examples will be Kelvin and Yvonne, whom I met almost 8 years ago. At a point of time, they were staying up in the north of Singapore and they wanted to move closer to town. And we eventually got them a place very near in town, but at that time I asked them a very important question. Do you foresee a day that you will leave Singapore and work overseas? Being a young couple at that time, they said this will not happen. They will likely stay in Singapore for a long time. But yet I said that this is important and they should prepare ahead of time. Now today, Kelvin is a regional head of marketing for a big MNC. They have just been seconded to Korea. Because of that, they need to rent out their property, which we are able to do so at a record price because we prepared for this event ahead of time. They managed to buy a landed house at the end of last year before the whole market heated up. And right now this house is also rented out for a very good rental because of their secondment. The most important thing for Kelvin and Yvonne is that they made 2 decisions right the first time round. This allowed them to be ahead of time in front of their peers because they don't need to go for a second chance again. After my brush with leukemia and in my work with real people who have real aspirations but also real needs, I find that it's important that we do things right the first time, because second chances are never given in life. And in today's society, when we are long on information but short on insight, I feel that it's important for me to contribute to regional newspapers like Bloomberg, South China Morning Post, FinNews, 联合早报. The reason is because I believe that with more people having the right information on hand, then they're better equipped to make the right decisions in life. Today, I'm amongst the top 1% of my industry because not only I help people buy the right properties, more importantly, I help them buy time.